Welcome to battle number 5 of week number 3 of the FNF Seafoam Isles Draft League. I'm your host Lionhugs, and today we'll be doing a replay commentary match between Colin of the Pennsylvania Porygon-Zs versus Marv of the Lincoln Lanturns. Before we get started, let's go and review the Mega and Z Pokemon appearing today. On Colin's side, we have Megalopony, as well as Z, Any, Togekiss, and on Marv's side, we only have Gardevoir and no Z Pokemon will be appearing today. So before we go ahead and get started, let's just go over some quick initial thoughts. Going on Colin's side, we do have an appearance from Cresselia, who's been serving Colin very well in previous weeks. That sheer amount of bulk plus potential for Calm Mind sweeps can really hurt Marv, especially with all the various kinds of coverage moves that Cresselia can have, and not to mention that it can be supported decently well from Togekiss with those wishes. And on the more physical side, we obviously have pretty much everybody else on Colin's team, especially, quite obviously, with Megalopony, who pretty much nobody wants to really take a hit in. We do see Type Null on Marv's side, probably having Eviolite, but even then, it still probably doesn't want to comfortably take. It still probably can't comfortably take certain physical hits. Not to mention, it has to watch out. Type Null will definitely have to watch out for knockoff from potentially Sprafty or Rillaboom, as once that Eviolite goes down, it becomes a very, very easy Pokemon to take down. And going back to Marv's side, we also have, in terms of Calm Mind sweeps, we do have Mega Gardevoir with just that sheer special attack, special defense side, probably do much more damage much more quickly than Cresselia. I'm also really curious to see how Excadrill will be used. We don't seem to have like a set Sandstorm user. Maybe that could be Type Null, maybe that could be one of the other Pokemon, or maybe Excadrill just has Moonbreaker. But either way, Excadrill can be a very terrifying Pokemon, especially once the hand is set up. On top of that, we also have nice pivots in Crobat and Rotom as well, so that could probably help keep everybody alive, making sure, special walls take the special hits, physical walls take the physical hits. And obviously we do also have Crobat, which might have Defog as Stealth Rock and would do at least a lot of damage to Kyurem, and as well as chip damage for everybody else. So it's not really the best Defogger, I believe, but it does have access to Roost, which can keep it alive for quite a while, and it can definitely threaten both Togekiss and Rillaboom. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and begin. Looks like our first opening is Easter the Lopunny and Polty the Rotom. I love that name. I believe that's a shiny Rotom. And you've seen an immediate switch out to Empress, probably predicting a Volt Switch or a Will-O-Wisp. There it is. So Empress doesn't really mind the Will-O-Wisp so much. And instead we see a switch out to Tifa, the Mega Gardevoir at this point. And Empress sets up the Trick Room, nullifying or reversing the order of the attacks. Looks like Burn and Leftovers are interacting, and Tifa has just evolved into Mega Gardevoir and has just been toxic to Cresselia. Tifa responds with a Mystical Fire. Empress's special attack has been lowered by 1 stage, but as you can see, Empress is very, very bulky. Only took about 30% damage with that hit, and that was a critical, I believe. And Moonlight sends Empress right back up to 100%. Tifa this time goes for the Hyper Voice, which does much more damage, about 47%. Tifa with that Toxic definitely wants to switch out, and indeed it does. It goes out to Maximus, the Type Null. Empress once again goes for another heal. I'm assuming Maximus might have a Swords Dance set, potentially. It's the thing with Type Null, you never really know what it can have. And up there it is, there's the pivots. A U-turn back to Mega Gardevoir. Interesting setups, probably trying to just outlast the Trick Room and predicting the Toxic. And the dimensions have switched back to normal. Trick Room is down. Empress can easily go ahead and set it up, but instead Tifa goes for the taunt. Empress's Trick Room is shut down. This might be a good time for Empress to go ahead and switch out. And now we get Polty the Rotom. And we do get a switch out to Big Pete the Piloswine. Polty will no longer be able to use Volt Switch, however a Will-O-Wisp goes out. It'll definitely hurt Big Pete. And Dita's Stealth Rock goes up. Looks like Colin's hoping to get some of that chip damage in, especially to keep Kyurem at bay. Out comes Carnage the Excadrill with Mold Breaker, so no sand needed. And out comes the Icicle Crash, only doing about 21% health damage. The effects of that burn. Not looking good for Big Pete, and it does switch out to Rajang, the Rillaboom, who sets up a Grassy Surge. Ironhead goes through, only doing about 25% damage since the Grassy Terrain has raised its defense by 1 stage. Oh, and it looks like Rajang's health is being restored. And out comes X-Wing the Crobat, again one of my other favorite nicknames of this league. Rajang uses Acrobatics, only doing about 30% damage to X-Wing. X-Wing can easily go for maybe Cross Poison or literally anything. Oh, indeed goes for that Toxic, probably expecting a switch out. Potentially to Cresselia. Rajang goes for the Swords Dance. And X-Wing goes for the Roost. It's now back to 100% health. It takes another Acrobatics, this time doing 61% damage. X-Wing could Roost to continue to do the stalls, but instead it goes for the Brave Bird, a critical hit Brave Bird as well. That is a one-hit KO. The score is now 6-5 in Marv's favor. And Grassy Terrain has been removed. Out comes Easter the Lock Bunny. If it has any priority move or pursuit, it can easily take out X-Wing. Indeed, it goes for the return with the being outsped. X-Wing goes down. And out comes Polty. Will it use a Will-O-Wisp or will it just switch out? Colin doesn't want to take chances, sends out Big Pete to hopefully take a Will-O-Wisp. Oh, and instead a Volt Switch. Big Pete is immune, Polty stays in. Pete versus Polty. Indeed, Polty doesn't want to stick around and sends out Maximus instead. Maximus takes an Icicle Crash, which again, Eviolite plus the burn, doing very little damage. Colin definitely wants to knock off that presumed Eviolite. Maximus probably expected a switch out, tried to use Thunder Wave, did not work, instead gets Toxicked. Colin seems to have like a very balanced team, switching back and forth between decent offense and setup. hazards. Maximus, however, goes for the rest. Going right back to full health, shrugging off that toxic. This is not good for Big Pete. Pete's probably going to want to switch out, as it's not doing much of those nice little crashes. And indeed, we do see a switch out to Empress. I wonder if Empress is going to use a Calm Mind here. It is burned, but thankfully it does have leftovers, which basically nullifies that HP loss. Maximus is still sleeping, and Empress is now going to use Trick Room. This will definitely help out call on slower Pokemon such as Empress. And out comes Togekiss making its first appearance. Maximus uses Roar instead. Bringing Cresselia back out of Comedy of Errors. I'm assuming Maximus wanted to roar out Cresselia to deal with literally anybody else. Instead goes for the super effective U-turn, doing only about 17% health to bring out Tifa the Gardevoir, still toxic, and taking some chip damage from the Stealth Rock. Morph predicting very well that Toxic is coming out. But unless Tifa can do a strong one-shot, it's going to be very hard to get around that Toxic. And indeed, it does go for the Calm Mind. If it has a Shadow Ball, it could. I still think it might need another Calm Mind to take it out in one shot. And instead we see Big Pete. Double Calm Mind. Okay. Tifa is in a good position to start doing a lot of damage. But it's also at 15% health. It'll only last for one more turn at this point. And Tifa goes for the Hyper Voice, taking out Big Pete. The score is now 5-4, but that toxic damage kicks into effect, taking out Tifa. The score is now once again evenly matched at 4-4. Out comes Polty the Rotom to face Empress to Cresselia once again. Cresselia doing a lot of legwork for this team with that special wall aspect. And Polty uses Trick. Empress has now obtained Choice Scarf, and Polty has obtained Leftovers. Empress is now locked into Trick Room. That was a really nice prediction for Marv. Good job. Wow, Empress's viability is now completely shut down, and now has to switch out to AJ the Scrafty, making his first appearance. Holt uses a Discharge, probably hoping for Paralysis, however it doesn't seem to go into effect. And it looks like both Pokemon have Leftovers. And it looks like AJ goes for the Bulk Up. Holt probably would like to use a Will-O-Wisp. Oh, instead it goes for another Discharge. I suppose it depends on what ability Scrafty would have. And there goes that knockoff. More than enough to take out Polty after a bulk up. If it's also equipped with a Drain Punch, it could pretty much threaten everybody else on the team. Indeed, Maximus comes out. We do know it's pretty bulky with the Eviolite, and indeed only loses about 35% damage, or health. Out comes that Roar, taking away those stat boosts and bringing in Cresselia. Again, not the best matchup, depending on Maximus' moveset. What else do we know? U-turn, Thunder Wave, Rest, Roar. It looks like Maximus is almost completely utility. And another Trick Room goes up. Empress is probably going to switch out, presumably to Mega Lopunny. or Scrafty, who do a lot of damage to Maximus. And out comes AJ. We are probably going to see one bulk up and then another attacking move. I wonder if it's most likely going to be a knockoff. Just to get rid of those leftovers. No, not even a bulk up, just straight for the knockoff. Maximus is much more vulnerable now. And there goes that bulk up. It's kind of risky with the roar, but... instead Maximus goes for the Thunder Wave. Probably hoping to benefit from that random paralysis chance. Indeed it goes. AJ's paralyzed. And I'm seeing Maximus is going to... it does roar. It does roar. Getting rid of those stat boosts and bringing out Togekiss. Have we seen many of Togekiss's moves? No. Not really. Oh, there goes for the Air Slash if it flinches. And indeed it flinches. Okay, sorry, I was going to finish that sentence. If it flinches, it could allow Togekiss to do more, but instead we do another switch out to Empress, probably to set up another Trick Room. Maximus once again goes for the rest. Very good use of Type Null. Even without the Eviolite, it's still decently bulky. Well, maybe not bulky, but it's at least holding its own for now. And now comes AJ the Scrafty, still paralyzed. And that paralysis means it can't move. I wonder what moveset Togekiss has if it doesn't have Heal Bell or Wish or anything. I mean, we haven't seen anything yet. Oh, there, the Shed Skin chance, that's what it is. AJ's cured up its paralysis. And instead of setting up, it goes immediately for that Drain Punch. Looks like Maximus is probably going to respond with another Roar. Nope, instead goes for that Thunder Wave. Ooh, and Shed Skin goes into effect immediately. Very lucky, 2 times in a row. Another Drain Punch goes into effect. Maximus loses 36% of its health. Maximus goes for the Thunder Wave once again and is probably going to rest on its next turn. Okay, Mars in a little bit of a pinch. Just given the sheer threats from Lopunny and Scrafty against the rest of his team. And instead, looks like Bahamut, the QRM comes out. Morph seems to be trying to go for the end game and just push on through anyway. AJ goes for that bulk up. And Bahamut goes for the Dragon Dance, already outsped, but it's probably trying to match the increased defense from bulk up. Unfortunately, Drain Punch is able to take it out in one shot. Down goes Kyurem. Score is now 4-2 in Colin's favor. Morph responds with the Carnage, who goes for Iron Head, unfortunately doing about 25% damage due to that bulk up. The flinch chance has helped for now, but without knockoff, AJ is going to be pretty hard to get rid of. And another Iron Head, probably hoping for the flinch chance, does not go into effect. One Drain Punch is more than enough to take it out and fully heal AJ. Marv is down to Maximus, who takes that Stealth Rock damage and is now down to 14% health. Oof, AJ has been paralyzed. Maximus did not go for the rest. Looks like it's just trying to do its best to take it out, but U-turn without any stat boosts or anything is going to be really hard to take out AJ. And indeed, one Drain Punch is all it takes to end this match. Down goes Maximus, and the score is 4-0 in Colin's favor. That was a really interesting match, especially at the beginning. There was a lot of really good reads, especially good use of Cresselia. Marv using Trick to get rid of Cresselia's leftovers and then give it Choice Scarf was really inspired. I actually really like that. Colin was still able to adapt pretty well, turning Cresselia just into a Trick Room user to keep all his Pokemon safe and healthy, and making sure that they outsped the more harassing Pokemon on Mars' side, especially with Type Null. That was actually a really interesting moveset. I'm really impressed. Type Null is actually a Pokemon I used in last league to decent effect. I never quite utilized Type Null as effectively as Marv, so that's actually been a little bit inspiring for me for future uses. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to seeing how both our combatants go ahead and evolve from here. Please stay tuned for more battles of Week 3.